lesson for the 5th week in Lent, and I was taken with the fact that they were all just hanging out with Lazarus. I've read this lesson before, and I never really thought about it or understood the fact that they were hanging out with a guy who was just dead. Not just recently or briefly dead, like when your heart stops and you fall down and then your heart wakes up and you're alive again. But he was really dead. He had even started to stink like a dead animal in the woods that your dog finds and wants to roll around in, kind of dead. And there they were, just eating and hanging out and having dinner at Lazarus' house. And nobody even says anything about the Lazarus having been dead thing. They're just eating and hanging out. What do they talk about? The dinner conversation is all about Mary putting some perfume on Jesus' feet. Nobody even mentions the fact that they're hanging out with someone who was dead. Well, not dead now, but not that long ago dead. Nothing like, hey, Lazarus, how does it feel to be alive compared to being a stinking, rotting corpse?
I like what you said about the heart wakes up again. I think that the important part is that it foreshadows Jesus' death. That, people weren't there just writing it down. The important part is that it was told and retold until it could be written down.
You know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking, who was doing all the work while Mary was massaging Jesus' feet? I mean, how come we never hear about the person who was doing the cooking and the cleaning and the prepping? Martha.
Yes, poor Martha. I'm sure she had to clean the house, buy the food, prepare the food, serve the food, and clean up after. But maybe Mary helped? Hey, by the way, are you the one who folded my laundry and put it on my bed for me? You're such a special nugget.
Nugget. Yeah. Mary helped. She helped herself to a crazy amount of fancy perfume and then put it all over Jesus' feet. Where did she get the money for that? And how come we don't hear about her cooking or cleaning or paying the mortgage?
Right? I would love to if Jesus had, if he had really started social change, he could have told the disciples to get in there and cook and clean. Why are women still subjected to men? They could have been cleaning and cooking all this time.
Well, Mary gets it, doesn't she? I can just see her pouring the perfume on Jesus' feet, rubbing it in, wiping it with her hair. The smell of perfume fills the whole room.
And covers the smell of fresh baked bread and fish that Martha was preparing.
Mary rubbing that oil, the perfume into Jesus' feet must have been kind of sensual, don't you think?
Are you suggesting that...
But I think Jesus actually was above those earthly desires.
I think you're suggesting that Jesus had sexual desires.
Well, no, could he?
Whoa! This is really taking a weird turn here. Let's recap, if we will. First of all, we're talking about having dinner with a recently dead person who's not dead anymore. And then we're talking about foreshadowing, which sounds like advanced math to me. And then we're talking about the woman who's doing all the work, and of course, none of the men are helping as usual. And Mary is just being Mary. And then you add the part about where Jesus possibly being turned on by a massage. Did I leave out anything?
What about Judas?
What about Judas?
Oh, Judas is essential. He ties everything together.
Did Judas get a foot massage?
No.
I think he might have enjoyed one.
No, I was thinking that Richard is right.
This might be your day.
Well, the important part is that if Judas hadn't complained about the perfume, then it wouldn't have given Jesus the opportunity to talk about his future death.
But it says that Judas was a thief. He was lining his pockets with the money.
No. Judas' reaction was perfectly reasonable.
Come on.
Look, they had the money, and he was the treasurer, no doubt about that, but they only spent a little bit of that money on their own personal needs. The rest of it was spent to help the poor. I mean, Judas was correct. You know, I'd be willing to bet that all of the church council members of this congregation would have the same reaction as Judas.
You're going to need to explain that one.
All right, imagine this. Suppose that somebody from the congregation shows up at a council meeting with a proposal to spend a lot of the money from the church on these really sweet, lazy boy recliners with massaging capabilities. Put them right there in the sanctuary, and when we come in on Sunday morning, everybody gets a recliner with a little massage during the service. What do you think of that? Pretty good idea, huh? Wrong. That's not a good idea. In fact, I imagine that the council members would have been pretty appalled about all that. And at least one of them would have suggested that, alternatively, why don't we spend some of that money to help the poor? Things like neighbors helping neighbors, or food for friends, or a cathedral in the night. Wouldn't it be much better to do something like that, a better choice, than recliners in church?
Massaging recliners? I'm there.
But that would be so wrong, wouldn't it?
It's a bad analogy. The perfume was for Judas, for Jesus.
But all that expensive perfume and the money, all that's going to be spent on a guy who's going to be dead in a short period of time, about ready to die? I don't think so. How about if we use some of that money to help out, say, a poor young widow that has no income of her own and no prospects for any, and has to feed and clothe and house her 4 young children?
It says that Judas is a thief.
That may be true, but the disciples don't know that.
Jesus did.
I don't understand what you're trying to say here.
You know, I think the disciples were just looking for something familiar, back to familiar territory, business as usual. You know, like they wanted more mountaintop experiences. They wanted more healing the sick, more parables, more crowds, more breakfast on the beach, more opportunities to sit at the feet of the master and learn some things. They just didn't get it. And Ruth, you don't get it at all. Mary gets it.
Mary gets it? You just keep flip-flopping around here. Mary gets it? What are you, a fish? Who are you really? And why do you know so much about the Bible?
I grew up in the church.
This isn't no Sunday school theology.
Ruth, lighten up. Richard's not on trial here.
I just want to know who I'm living with. Maybe he should be on trial because you live in my house and I know next to nothing about you.
It's our house, and he is our guest.
Like I said, I just want to know who I'm living with.
Wait a minute. Don't tell me this is about the stinking toilet paper again.
You are such a jerk, Richard.
I can be a jerk. I can. And that's because we hit it off so well. I'm out of here.
Richard, it's freezing out there.
Come on, you can work this out.
Ruth.
Yeah, I've worked it out in my butt.
Oh, he's like a bad penny. He's going to be back.
Ruth, he is a part-time, true member of this household. He's also a part of our congregation, part-time.
Yeah. And that's another thing. He's not like any of our other part-time parishioners. He just comes in on Easter and Christmas. He comes in on Good Friday and Reformation Sunday. And then he's here all summer long. That's just not normal.
I agree that Richard is not normal.
I'm going after him.
I'll come with you.
He'll be back.
Did you get any sleep last night?
No, I'm just feeling like the jerk that I am.
Who was she on the phone with?
The police. We called all the local shelters and Richard's not at any of them.
All right. Thank you. It was the police. They just found a body down by the river. It matches Richard's description.